Hello and welcome to Cover Story. Today we are in conversation with Lieutenant General Satish Dua. He has been the Chief of Integrated Defense Staff when he retired in 2018. However, what is also very interesting about him is that he was the one who planned and executed the surgical strikes, which was the response to the terror attack at Uri. He was the corps commander in Srinagar. It's good to have you here, General Dua. In fact, at a time when we are talking about what should India's response be after the Pahalgam attacks, I have someone who was there on ground, in 2016, 2018. So I want to ask you, what is so different between 2016, 2019, and the now?
Uh, Thank you, Priya, for inviting me, and Jai Hind to all your viewers as well.
Yeah.
Um, Priya, I've been diving straight into the question, but before that, just allow me a moment to say,
Hmm.
let me express my condolences to the families of the bereaved, in fact, to the whole nation, because what has happened is so sad. And sadly, I have often uh, paid homage to brave hearts who've laid down their life in service of the nation as corps commander, earlier as a commanding officer in different ranks when I've lost soldiers. So it's been a sad passage there. Now to your question. What is different?
Hmm.
Look, in 2016, when we had the terror attack at Uri, the defense minister landed up that very day, that afternoon, at, at my office. The army chief was already there. And we got clearances to do what we did. I posed some things to the defense minister in presence of the army chief and army commander, and we launched we launched shallow raids in multiple locations at terrorist camps across the LOC. When I say shallow, 3, 4, 5 kilometers, that's what our
Hmm.
depth was. What is now known as a surgical strike. That is the first time we did something across the borders. Remember, before the Uri attack, few months before that, there was a Pathankot airbase attack. That's
Yes.
where we kept getting on the defensive. We don't have terrorists to send across, so we launched this new bold response, and we called the nuclear bluff. We found that little space below the nuclear threshold, as it were. 2019, 2.5 years after that, 40 CRPF Jawans killed in a suicide terror attack. This time we launched precision airstrikes far deep into Pakistan, not POK, into Pakistan territory at Jabba Top near Balakot. Again at terrorist camps only. Now it is 2025, almost a decade, 9 years after 2016.
Yeah.
What is different this time are two things. One, the um, the world has changed. War fighting has changed. When you see Russia-Ukraine war for the last 3 years plus, when you see Israel-Gaza for so long, couple of years, we are looking at so many enablers have joined the field. There are drones, precision guided missiles, cyber, space, artificial intelligence. So many more things have come in, and robotics. So the response this time will certainly, to my mind, be multidimensional, a multi-domain kind of response. The package will be very different.
Okay, before we go to the response, I have one quick more question.
Yeah,
Because you said a lot has changed.
yeah.
For instance, we also have the Prime Minister saying this is not an era of
So
war.
I'm coming. I'm sorry for interrupting. I'm coming to that.
Okay.
So I
Okay,
said
you
two
come to
things. Yeah, there are two things. One is this multidimensional. And you really snatched the words out of my mouth because I want to talk. The second aspect is in 2016, 10 days later, after the terror attack, 10 days later, we launched uh, this, the surgical strikes. 2019, 12 days later, airstrikes. 14th February, 26th February. And but the difference was that time, both those times, the military response was executed and then announced to the world. This time we've already made announcements. The Prime Minister has already put into measure some very harsh steps, diplomatic, political, economic responses. because water
Hmm.
treaty, water is also economic response, is going to hurt them.
Right.
Those have been announced by the Prime Minister, by the Defense Minister. The whole government is saying it. And we are saying that we are going to get after you. Not only those terrorists who perpetrated this ghastly carnage, but also their backers wherever they are. And so this time round, we have already made the announcement. So there's no surprise left. Surprise
Hmm.
will only be in the way of doing things, in what we do. So that is why it is bound to take time. It is still been only 10 days, 11th day today. And this time around, the response will also have to be more multidimensional. So there'll be more stakeholders at play. And now the world is watching very cautiously. Pakistan is already rattled. They are actually making a lot of noises, going to the world bodies, talking up. There's panic in the public. So all that is happening. So it's a very different setting altogether.
So, given that it's a different setting altogether, what should our response be? You've spoken about the political response, there is
Yes.
economic response, but the military response, there is a nuclear deterrent also at play, which everybody keeps talking about. Also, Pakistan is probably expecting our response because, as you said, the earlier two were
Yes.
surprised. Now we've also been open about it. So, is this
Yeah.
a carefully calibrated move? Are we playing into their hands by doing a response? Because they want for them this is the best distraction they have, keep everybody focus distracted by a war with India rather than on their own problems.
I don't think that the last sentence, I don't agree with the last sentence because war with India, war is a very big thing to happen. Even Kargil conflict was not a full-blown war. And
Okay.
trust me, nobody wants war. Least of all Pakistan, it is in no stage to wage a war. They are at their fiscal lowest today.
Hmm.
If they poop off the ammunition, little ammunition that they have no money to buy replenishments. And no one, neither China nor US, is going to come and bail them out like US and the West have been propping up Ukraine for last 3 years. So it is
No.
not going to happen that way.
So
All
it's
right.
not in
Pakistan,
Pakistan's interests at all.
not at all.
Okay.
It is in no one's interest. But it's not in our interest either. But we can still withstand it. We are an ascending power, but a responsible nation. As far as Pakistan is concerned, they are diametrically opposite. Look at look at the way Sensex is in both the countries in last 10 days.
Hmm.
Pakistan is going down, ours is going up. I mean, that tells its own story. So the point I'm trying to make, war.
Hmm.
So what do they do to get out of war? Of course, panic strikes people. Yesterday's news, people on LOC are stocking up and all that. Poor people on LOC on both sides get the
But
brunt of it every time. But as far as Pakistan is concerned, they are rattled. They are also seeing our military might on display in exercises. They are also trying to make a pretense of it. But there are so many voices coming out of Pakistan which are not very heartening. Then, on the other hand, we have that's why they started nuclear saber rattling. You mentioned the nuclear card. They would like to play the nuclear card because cornered today
hmm.
between the warlike machinery, between India's threats, because today, when India talks, the world gives us listens. Not one country is supporting. I mean, there must be a couple of exceptions. I can name them: China, Turkey. Otherwise, other countries are supporting India, are overtly making statements. Leaders are calling up Prime Minister directly and supporting him in their war against terror and whatever we do. So, I beg your pardon. So, they resort to nuclear saber rattling. That's been their play all along. Every time the nuclear card, the nuclear blackmail. Now, so as if they really want the West to intervene and put
Hmm.
an end to it. That's what happened in Kargil war, right? So that's what is at play. But if you would permit me, Priya, just 2 more minutes, I want to also talk about when you said what should our response be, and we've spoken about this. Uh, but um, I think we, in our response in India, we need to have a three-pronged response. One we've spoken about as to what our response should be to the for the terrorists who perpetrated this and to terrorism ecosystem as a whole.
Right.
But the two other things that I want to talk about, one, or this is the second, is that we have to take extra precautions to make sure that we do not have a Hindu Muslim divide just because they picked on Hindu males and killed them in Pahalgam. Because if that happens in different parts of the country, we are already hearing some Kashmiri students being beaten up. We've heard of one such case that's happened in Agra. So, if that happens in different parts of the country, then the terrorists would have achieved their aim. We need to defeat their evil designs. And the last thing, the third thing that we need to do is over the last 5 years after dilution of Article 370,
Hmm.
we've had so much development in Kashmir. We've had so much calm and quiet, no stone pelting, schools are open, markets are open, political processes in place, the three-tier panchayat Raj. So many things have happened. And tourism has grown by more than 4 times. The, the tourism figures are astounding. So many people have actually invested more and more in this hospitality industry. People have taken a loan to buy a car, to drive a taxi, or added 2 rooms to the house for a house stay. So many more things. Overnight, that has been wiped out. So I think we also need to make sure there has to be a outreach by the state, by the country. Plus, we, all of us, it's incumbent on us to make sure that we stand by them. We go back as tourists. So we defeat the evil designs of the people, of the terrorists, sorry, and stand in solidarity with Kashmiri people because, last sentence is this, because for once, all the Kashmiris cutting across all divides have, for the first time, come out with open, strong voices against uh, terrorism and the violence it perpetrates. Thank you.
In fact, no, I would. You had actually preempted my next question because I was going to
Uh,
ask you, the mood of the locals and how should one
Sorry.
react? Because there's been a mixed reaction from the locals also. There've been a lot of people who've coming out in support. And starting by the chief minister, what do you make of Omar Abdullah's words saying this is not the time to play politics? I won't ask for 370 to be, sorry,
Yes.
for statehood at a time like this. I
Yes.
mean, that also is very commendable.
I absolutely agree. It's commendable. They are not in the same sort of political bloc, so to say. They
Correct.
are almost like opposition parties. But on this, he is not playing politics. I remember there was another incident. I think it was when one of the tunnels was inaugurated by the government at
The
Zojila.
prime minister had gone, yes.
Prime Minister had inaugurated the tunnel, and the Chief Minister was present. There also, he made very positive statements. So I think this is political maturity. I have known the chief ministers in J&K, my Mufti, Mr. Omar Abdullah, Farooq Abdullah. I've known them close because I've worked in those positions. I've interacted with them. I see a great deal of political maturity in his statements as a chief minister and as the mainstream leader today, because we need this more than anything else.
Correct. I'm going to take a quick break and come back and talk to you a bit more about, what the reaction from Pakistan, but after a quick break.
Right.
Hello and welcome back to a cover story interview. We are in conversation with Lieutenant General Satish Dua. We are talking to him about the Pahalgam terror attack, the India's response, and also the response from Pakistan. Sir, we've seen, Bhutto and the defense minister also, upping the ante, and they have been very openly saying that we've been backing terror groups. What do you make of that, and the fact that they are standing by whatever's happening? We've also have Indian people's government saying that this whole attack was state sponsored and they haven't really bothered to deny that either.
Uh, well, the two statements that have come out of Khwaja Asif, the defense minister, and Bilawal Bhutto, the PPP chairperson. Uh, I think, okay, first let me make a statement. Till Pahalgam happened,
Hmm?
I think we didn't even know how many of us knew Khwaja Asif as the defense minister.
Correct.
I mean, you as journalists would have known, and I would have known, but the common public did anyone even know? Why? Because in Pakistan, defense minister does not count. There is the Pakistan Army chief that counts, right?
Correct.
But now, after that rant of a speech the Pakistan Army chief gave 4 days before the Pahalgam incident, have we ever heard of the Army chief? No. No media, not social media. It is not there. Right. So what has happened? What has changed? Suddenly they've gone back, uh, sort of gone back on the back burner,
Hmm.
and the politicians are thrust ahead. And Khwaja Asif gives a statement to Yalda Hakim and says that, yes, we've been doing their dirty work. He's talking of the US and the West. So, very similar statement given by Bilawal, I think 3 or 4 days after that. I think that they are trying to, on one hand, perhaps sort of tell the US, tell the West that we did your dirty work. I mean, it is a joint venture between you and us. So we did it for you. It's not all by ourselves. Like, but I think there is a flaw there. They're trying to make that happen. But even before the US stepped in, US came into this only when the Soviet occupation of Afghanistan took place by their own admission, right? By
Hmm.
the admission of Pakistanis. But what about Razakars in 1947-48? Mixed with Pakistan army people that they came into J&K in October 47. So
Hmm.
Pakistan has been at this game for long. What about 1965, Operation Gibraltar? They thought that they will have Kashmiris will rise in revolt and they sent in some infiltrators. So Pakistan has been at it for long. And in 1977, when Ziaul Haq came to power and this a death by thousand cuts, they actually moved into Punjab earlier to support Punjab, the Khalistani movement. So Pakistan is a past master at this game. The US entered because of Soviet occupation, and now they're trying to make it all about that. So we have to take their statements with a pinch of salt. What's happening between the politicians and the military in Pakistan is perhaps a different dynamic that is at play. And the politicians are making these statements. The army chief is not sort of to be seen anymore in media and social media. So I don't know if there is something afoot there because, we all know that the most popular leader is in jail and the others are trying to hang on to a coalition. So clearly something else is happening.
Yes, we've also been reading, again on social media, Pakistan Army chief may be pushing off to London. Is he going to flee the country? So there
Or,
is
or,
what
or
you
stage a
rightly
coup, or
said.
stage a coup, or even there's a wild theory that he may stage a coup. So clearly something else is there. Beg your
So
pardon.
there is a lot of widespread anger in the opposition. Everybody is united that India has to give a fitting response. The government has
Yes.
got everybody's support. Prime Minister has told the army that he will not interfere. Whatever
Yeah.
options they come up with. So it seems as if there is a united front where as far as India is concerned. So this is the time really to give a very befitting response. What would be a befitting response that will be a deterrent to Pakistan? Because you know. That's really what we need to, that's the message we need to give, whether it is political, military, diplomatic, whatever
Yeah.
means.
We've already taken very harsh diplomatic measures, cutting down of the mission staff, stopping all visas, asking everybody to go back. It was heartrending to see yesterday or day before's report that Pakistan has closed down the borders. They're not
Yeah.
accepting any more Pakistanis being deported from India. It's sad. And I read a very telling comment somewhere which said, in Kargil war, they did not take their dead bodies. They didn't accept their dead bodies. Now they are not accepting living bodies. So that's the kind of state Pakistan is in. So diplomatic measures have hurt them
Okay.
already. Water. Water is something which is the harshest measure. We haven't done anything. We haven't stopped the tap flow. We can't. It will take time. But in the mere announcement, we will stop sharing data, med data, hydrographic data. We will stop controlling the waters, sharing information in advance. All that we started. That's all that we've done. It will take time to create capacities to actually, uh, uh,
Store
channel the
the
water
excess.
somewhere else. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say, despite that, now Pakistan is in a bit of a fix there. So those harsh steps have already been taken. As diplomatic isolation, it's already started, and the bigger steps from IMF to World Bank to FATF, everything. Excuse me, I just need to plug in the I, IMF, all these world bodies. We are now looking at how we will impress upon them to cut down aid to Pakistan, especially FATF. 4 years they were on the grey list. We would, and things like that. So my point is, with that kind of since the world opinion has been shaped today, with that kind of diplomatic squeeze that India intends on applying, the pressure more and more, we will see how it affects Pakistan. As far as military response is concerned, we've already spoken. It has to be not only these terrorists, because for them the operations are already on. So many, the NIA has conducted the investigation in South Kashmir, especially. So many about these 4 districts: Anantnag, Kulgam, Shopian, Pulwama. All those areas, operations have really intensified. I'm sure we will get them today or tomorrow. Terrorists have a very finite shelf life, but more important is to hit their backers across, and that's the response that we're looking for. How will we do that? Like I said earlier, it will be a multi-domain response, but it would not be correct for us to start, discussing what things would be, because that has yet to take place.
Okay, a little bit about, if we can just go back as to what happened post Uri, the kind of, when you were planning the response, the kind of support you got from the Prime Minister, from the establishment, and the planning that went in, that if you can talk a bit, since now I know you've written about it, spoken about it.
Right. Priya,
What
so
were
I have,
the challenges?
yes. So I've written about it in my first book, India's Brave Hearts. I've written all these stories down. So I can't even change a word from here to there. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm committed. I've already committed. It's been translated in 4 languages. So one of the best things that happened that day on 18 September, you can't call, nothing was good that day because I lost 18 soldiers on my watch. But the good thing that happened, that despite my protestations, and I say that again, despite my protestations, the defense minister landed up that day. I told the defense secretary, I don't want VIPs on my hands today. But he landed up that day. Normally, the leaders come 7-10 days later, tab tak gussa thanda ho gaya hota hai. So he came that day. The army chief, army commander were already there. And he came, visited there. He wanted to go to Uri. He didn't. I said, no, their operations are still going on. We have just returned from Uri. So we took him to our headquarters, briefed him. And that's where, when we suggested this, I actually made the suggestion, we don't have terrorists, we'll do something different this time. Back of the Pathankot, that sentiment of Pathankot airbase attack a few months earlier. So there, I expected him to say, I will discuss with Prime Minister and get back to you. But he asked a few questions, which I obviously cannot disclose. And he gave a okay right then and there itself. So that is the kind of bold leadership we have to credit. That he could say it there itself. He gave me a permission in front of my army chief and army commander was sitting, so I didn't have to actually take any further approvals.
Right.
So, in fact, it became a bigger thing in the whole Northern Command. The army commander coordinated things. So, what I'm trying to say is that as a military man, I was very pleased with that kind of a decisive thing. We don't normally see that in political circles. And this time round, when the Prime Minister has said he's given a free hand to the military. In fact, I tweeted yesterday in some other context, one of the channels, and I said, when everyone was saying, why aren't we doing it? Why this is already, when are we going to do this? Now public opinion mounts because of social media enablers. And this is what I tweeted. Prime Minister has given them, let's all leave it to the military planners. They will plan what they do and let them free. Just the Prime Minister has already given them a free hand. Let's all do the same.
On that note, thank you so much, Lieutenant, for this conversation and for talking to us. And we hope to have you back again soon for more such conversations as we watch our response. But I think your words and what you said is going to send at least a lot of reassurance. So we're going to share it pretty widely. Thank you so much.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.